What's up, everyone, and welcome back. Today is the 24th of November, 2025. In today's video, we're going to talk about some news that broke over the weekend. On Saturday, November 22nd, we learned that JFK's granddaughter, Tatiana Schlossberg, the daughter of Caroline Kennedy, has been battling leukemia for over a year. And in this video, we'll talk about the numerology of this story and why it was published on the anniversary of the JFK assassination. You'll see here, according to CNN, Fox News, the New York Times, and other sources, this essay first came to light on November 22nd, which just so happens to be the same date that her grandfather was assassinated, the last sitting president to be killed during his term. On this channel, we talk about the language of numerology with a strong emphasis on the language of Gematria. Gematria is the practice of observing and coding numbers into names, words, and phrases. It all starts with the alphabetic order and then branches off into the base 4 methods, which is what we're looking at on the screen here. Now, the name Tatiana Schlossberg is perfect for this news story. We start here with the number 193, which is the alphabetic ordinal value of her name. 193 is a prime number, which is an important association in numerology. And we see here on my website, gematrinator.com, that it's the 44th prime number. That's an ideal number for a story about cancer. In the alphabetic order, cancer sums to 44. The word kill also equals 44. People with cancer undergo chemo treatment, which equals 44, a disease often caused by cigarettes, another 44. And don't forget, John F. Kennedy was the winner of the 44th U.S. presidential election and died on the 44th anniversary of an annular eclipse that began in Texas. Of course, he was killed in Texas. But this isn't the only intriguing prime number connection, because in the reverse alphabetic order, Tatiana Schlossberg equals 293. 293 is the 62nd prime number, and measuring back from the date that she announced her diagnosis to the assassination of her grandfather was exactly 62 years. From 1963 to 2025. This number 62 is also found in the name Schlossberg as well. So, of course, this is no mistake that it was the 62nd anniversary for a woman whose name equals the 62nd prime number and the 44th prime number connecting to cancer. The word sacrifice also equals 62. And we will look at how the human sacrifice code is in this as well. Now, Tatiana Schlossberg was a graduate of Yale University. And Yale University is, of course, home to the Skull and Bone Society. So towards the end of this video, we'll see how the numbers of this infamous fraternity are also encoded into the story. But another important element about all of this is that JFK was essentially the NASA president. During his term, he demanded that NASA send a man to the moon by the end of the decade, which was rather prophetic, as in July of 1969, the last year of the decade, the Apollo 11 mission was the first successful manned moon landing. If, of course, you believe it. The first man to set foot on the lunar surface was Neil Armstrong. And as it turns out, his numbers are very important to this story as well. Now, Tatiana was born on May 5th, which, no matter where you are in the world, is written as 5-5 on the calendar. In the reduction methods of Gematria, moon landing, Apollo 11, and Armstrong all sum to 55, matching her May 5th birthday. Now, on Saturday, this past weekend, November 22nd, the date of this news, that date had what we call primary numerology of 78. 11 plus 22 plus 20 plus 25. And 78 is a significant number to almost all of these characters. Tatiana is married to a man named George Moran, whose name equals 708 in Sumerian Gematria. This a cipher where we multiply the alphabetic order by 6, the number most closely associated with time. Cancer also 708 in reverse Sumerian. Tatiana, a member of the Kennedy family, which equals 78 ordinal. John F. Kennedy was shot in Dallas, Texas, which equals 708. These numbers also special to Neil Armstrong, which equals 78 reverse reduction. Armstrong's 708 reverse Sumerian. Also, Skull and Bones and Human Sacrifice, 780 in Sumerian. Notice how the word cancer has matching values with NASA, 132 and 152, in the same two extended ciphers. So these methods here, Latin and Standard, yield much larger numbers than the ordinal and reduction ciphers. The Latin method, based in the original Latin classical alphabet, and Standard using the current 26-letter alphabetic order. These same numbers are also found in the values of JFK. So we mentioned the number 193 in relation to Tatiana Schlossberg being the 44th prime number. And again, JFK was assassinated in the state of Texas. And it happened on the 44th anniversary of this solar eclipse, which just so happened to begin in the state of Texas. Winner of the 44th election. Now, when JFK died, it was exactly 193 mercurial orbits after he was born. It was also 1,093 days after his son JFK Jr. was born. And in the reverse alphabetic order, John F. Kennedy and assassinated both share a 193 with Tatiana Schlossberg. And this 193 is a number relevant to Neil Armstrong, too, as he was born in the year 1930. In fact, all three men who were aboard the Apollo 11 mission were all born in 1930. You see Buzz Aldrin, 1930, Michael Collins, another 1930. Now, in regards to this being on the 62nd anniversary of the assassination, notice how Neil Armstrong was born on a date with primary numerology of 62. And using the satanic cipher of Gematria, structured around the number 666, the number of the beast, which we'll look more at later. Notice how the name Neil Armstrong also gives us this 62. And once again, Schlossberg has a lot of the same numbers as sacrifice. 46, 62, 170. Even with the S exception, we get the 73. Schlossberg's husband, George Moran, his name sums to 118 in ordinal. And measuring from Tatiana's grandma's birthday, Jackie Kennedy, the wife of John F. Kennedy, she died 118 days after her grandma's birthday, which matches the word cancer in reverse. JFK killed in Dallas, Texas, which equals 118. Both moon landing and Armstrong also equal 118, a number associated with death and homicide. So what about the gematria of the word moon? Well, in reduction and standard, moon sums to 21 and 210. The name Tatiana equals 21 in reduction, and the disease she's battling, acute myeloid leukemia, equals 210 in ordinal. NASA equals 210 in Sumerian, like the word sacrifice with prime numbers. But also consider how Neil Armstrong's full name equals 201 in ordinal, while Apollo equals 201 in Latin. And this is certainly no mistake, as when Neil Armstrong landed the Eagle on the lunar surface, it was on the 201st day of the year. Well, Saturday, November 22nd, was 201 days after Tatiana Schlossberg's birthday. This means it was also 164 days before her next birthday. Of course, the moon landing on the date leaving 164 days in the year. Well, this stood out because measuring from the founding date of NASA in 1958 to the birth of Tatiana was 11,604 days. And when Neil Armstrong passed away in the year 2012, Tatiana was exactly 1,164 weeks old. News of her cancer diagnosis fell 16 weeks and 4 days after NASA's July 29th anniversary. So pretty incredible alignments here, but I also want to touch on the number 13. Because on Saturday, the date of this revelation, that date had numerology of 13 when you add all of the digits together individually. And of course, the number 13 is very significant to the moon. Consider how the word moon begins with the 13th letter and ends with the 13th letter in the reverse order. There's 13 lunar phases every couple of years. And the moon has the same gematria as 13, 99. Well, the name Jack Kennedy, which was JFK's nickname, equals 103. The 13th Fibonacci number is 233. And when you write out Kennedy's full name, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, it equals 233. And when Neil Armstrong first set foot on the lunar surface, look at how old he was. Exactly 2,033 weeks of age. Well, Tatiana was born 23 weeks and 3 days after the assassination date of JFK. This means when she revealed her cancer diagnosis, she was 23 weeks and 3 days before her next birthday. 233 is also the 51st prime number. Notice how the name Tatiana equals 51, just like moon. Now, in one of my most recent videos on my channel, we talked about some JFK riddles. Back when Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban visited the White House. So this video talks about how that was also synced up to John F. Kennedy. as measuring from it might have been the birth of JFK to that meeting. No, it was from the assassination. So from the JFK assassination to the Viktor Orban meeting was 3,233 weeks. So definitely check that out if you missed it. Another video worth watching is Kate Middleton's cancer diagnosis. So back in March of last year, in fact, on the date March 22nd, or 322, which is a major skull and bones number, Princess Kate Middleton revealed that she also was diagnosed with cancer, and we will see a numerical connection to that story. But this video is linked down below in the description if you want to see that as well. Just another example of how news just like this is filtered into the mainstream by the numbers. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this connection with Neil Armstrong. Oh, God. Really sorry about that. Having a little sound issue. One sec, guys. I'm going to mute it real quick. Good grief. Apologies for that. Sounds like Gematrinator needs a little upgrade in sound equipment. Apologies for that. So for the last part of this video, again, we're going to focus on Neil Armstrong and how it's all tied into the number of the beast and skull and bones. So NASA has numerology of 139 with capital letters. And of course, the association is with Freemasonry is very strong. Freemasonry, another 139. And this 139 is also found in the reverse value of leukemia, which is the disease that Tatiana is battling. Well, her leukemia diagnosis was first publicized a span of 13 years and 90 days after the death of Neil Armstrong. So there we see that special 139, but that's not all. This same measurement from August 25th of 2012 to the date of this story is also exactly 691 weeks. Masonry equals 691 in Latin. The other name for skull and bones, the Brotherhood of Death, is another 691. Well, 691 is another prime number. The 125th prime number. In the alphabetic order, the name Armstrong equals 125. Tatiana Schlossberg was born on May 5th, which is the 125th day on the calendar. And this news story on Saturday came out 125 days after the anniversary of the first moon landing. Now, measuring from the moon landing to the date of this news story is also 20,580 days. Two, 5, 8 are the digits we see here. Well, those are the same three digits found in the death date of Neil Armstrong, the 25th of August, 25/8. Those same three digits are even found in his reverse gematria, Neil Alden Armstrong, 285, like leukemia diagnosis. Number of the beast, also 258. The number of the beast, 285. And we'll see more on that in a minute. But what about this? If we use the number of lunations between their births, a lunation or a lunar phase, also called a synodic month, It takes the moon a little bit over 29.5 days to orbit the Earth. Well, I phrased that incorrectly. It's 29 and a half days between new moons. Tatiana was born exactly 739 lunations after the first man to walk on the moon. 739 is the 131st prime number, which connects to how old JFK would be if he was still alive, 1,301 months of age. In ordinal, John F. Kennedy and assassinated, both equal 131. That's the 32nd prime number connecting to leukemia. Tatiana born 32 years after her mother, Caroline Kennedy, who is the last surviving child of John and Jackie Kennedy. The name Caroline is a supermatch with leukemia, for the record. There's also a clear connection to the 9/11 code in this story as well. Now, if you look at Schlossberg's age for this news story, notice how it ends with the digits 985. These digits are also found in the value of ritual human sacrifice, which also equals 911 in Satanic. And this is, it's kind of sad. They're telling her she only has 1 year to live. So this code seems relevant. Tatiana was born on a date with primary numerology of 119. Her cancer diagnosis was publicized a span of 611 days after Kate Middleton's diagnosis. That 611 is also Brotherhood of Death. And my video on Kate's news was all about the Skull and Bones code because it came out on 322. Now, since Tatiana is the granddaughter of the last assassinated president, I thought it might be relevant to measure from the Trump shooting last year. And sure enough, exactly 1 year and 19 weeks from that date to Saturday. The name Donald has that 119. Neil Armstrong died during Brown Lunation 1109. For another nod to the code. But what I thought was interesting is that 119 has a prime factorization of 7 times 17. Well, when Tatiana Schlossberg was born, Neil Armstrong was exactly 717 months old. All right, so next I want to finish this off by talking about the book of Revelation, as this news is all about the reveal or the revelation of a cancer diagnosis. So this all broke on the 22nd of November, and that date can be written as 22/11. Well, the number 2211 is the 66th triangular number. So add every number 1 through 66, and you get 2211. 66 happens to be the ordinal sum of the name Tatiana. Remember, the 21 and 51 both connect to moon. Well, the 66th book of the Bible is the book of Revelation. Back in January, Donald Trump took office exactly 666 months after the first moon landing. National Aeronautics and Space Administration equals 666, much like fake moon landing. The Apollo craft also has that 666. When you write out the number 666, or 603 with the ampersand, just as it's written in the book of Revelation. Remember, Revelation uses the word "and" with an ampersand, or I'm sorry, it puts the word "and" in italics. See that? Which is kind of a clue. If you convert this word to an ampersand, it has the same gematria as 666, 294. Well, from the date of the moon landing to the date of this news story was exactly 2,940 weeks later. Now, this verse of Revelation that reveals the number of the beast is the 229th verse. Notice how the word leukemia equals 229 with prime numbers. And measuring from the moon landing to Tatiana's birth is 20 years, 290 days, 229. Again, talking about the 229th verse. But this measurement yields another intriguing number. Not only do we get the 229, but we also get exactly 1,085 weeks. In the alphabetic order, Book of Revelation equals 185. If we instead use the Latin cipher, Book of Revelation equals 1178. Well, when Neil Armstrong died, it was exactly 1,178 lunar phases after JFK was born. And now, for Tatiana's cancer news, Neil Armstrong would be 1,178 lunations old. And of course, the Brotherhood of Death connected strongly to the number 666. Tatiana Schlossberg, currently 35 years old. Her grandfather, John F. Kennedy, was the 35th president of the United States. And if you look at Caroline Kennedy's birth back in 1957, and fast forward to the founding date of NASA the following year, we find that Caroline was exactly 35 weeks old for the formation of NASA. And NASA equals 35. Commanded to send a man to the moon by the 35th president, right? 35-year-old Schlossberg. The 35th prime number is 149, and JFK was born on the 149th day of the year. This story connected to Skull and Bones and Revelation, both equaling 149. Once again, Tatiana, a graduate of Yale University. If you write out her full name, Tatiana Celia Schlossberg, and now that I review this, this might not actually be her full name. I don't think she ever got rid of the name Kennedy. But this name does equal 223. And remember, in the year 2023, Yale turned 322 years old. Well, from that special anniversary to this news story, gives us a lot of Skull and Bones numbers, right? 2 years, 45 days, like Skull and Bones Society. This is also 2 years, 6 weeks, 3 days, or 110 weeks and 5 days. And those same digits are found in Skull and Crossbones, 263 and 1105. There's a few more notes I put in my post, which is also linked below down in the description. For instance, her name equals 67 in reduction. 67 still the current age of her mother, Caroline Kennedy. Caroline was 607 weeks old for the moon landing. And she was born on the 331st day of the year, which is the 67th prime number. This was also exactly 71 weeks after the Trump shooting. Donald John Trump equals 710. JFK shot in Dallas, Texas, which equals 71. All circling back to the Apollo mission. Apollo 71 in the alphabetic order. So once again, more links down in the description below. If you want to learn how similar news stories about powerful people being diagnosed with cancer are all sent into the mainstream by the numbers. Kate Middleton, a perfect example of that code. And yeah, I mean, what are the odds? The granddaughter of JFK giving us this story on the anniversary of the JFK assassination. I mean, it's like they're trying to tell you that there's more going on than what's simply printed in these stories. Whether or not you want to pick up on it and have a greater understanding of these riddles that lie between the lines, then, you know, only so many people are interested about all of this. I think a lot of people understand there's more to what's going on in the media, but a lot of people simply don't care, like, why they're doing it, or which baffles me. I mean, knowledge is power, and understanding what the mainstream media is doing to help keep people in this fear loop. And cancer is one of those diseases they're always scaring people with. And, you know, when it comes to cancer, and it's just something doesn't sit right about it with me. Obviously, the disease is deadly, and I've lost loved ones to it. But something tells me that it's not just poor lifestyle habits that can result in a cancer diagnosis. I have a built-in mistrust about the medical industry in the first place, and I don't know. But my ramblings about healthcare are probably not long for this channel. I did work in the healthcare industry for a while with GE Healthcare, managing a supply chain. And, you know, seeing everything that goes on in the healthcare industry just builds a grand distaste for it for me. But I'll save my ranting for another time. For now, that'll do it for this video. Thanks to everybody for watching. If you made it to the end, do feel free to like, share, subscribe, and do all that, you know, feel-good YouTube crap. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you all next time. See ya!